Busy night today, Mayor.
Whoa. Whoa, because, all right, here we go. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Great to see everyone. Happy New Year's. I would like to call the January 16th, 2024 City Council meeting to order at 6:30. Go-to webinars, transcripts of the City Council meetings are available upon request after the City Council meeting. For real-time transcription, please visit your Apple app or Google Play Store and download services such as Live Transcribe or Live Caption. The public is encouraged to join the meeting online or by phone at the number printed at the agenda, which can be found at the city's website at www.diamondbarca.gov or in person. Main auditorium at South Coast Air Quality Management District. We have also allowed public comments to be submitted in advance to the city clerk. If any were received, they will be noted for the record when we get to the public comment period. This meeting is being recorded and by participating, you are giving your permission to be televised. This meeting will be rebroadcast every Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. and alternate Tuesdays at 8 p.m. and archived for the viewing on the city's website at www.diamondbarca.gov. And now we'll proceed to the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Andrew Chow.
Please stand, place your right hand over your heart, face the flag, and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the invocation by worship leader David Zacharias of the Landmark Church.
Hi, everyone. My name is David Zacharias. I work at Landmark Christian Church off of Brea Canyon Cutoff Road. And I just want to say I'm so grateful and honored and thrilled to be here to do this prayer. Would you join me in praying? God, we thank you and we praise you for everything that you do. You love us. Your grace is new for us each and every single day. And your provision is something we can count on in our lives. We thank you especially tonight for this city and its elected officials, businesses, churches, policemen and women, firefighters, doctors and nurses, teachers, families, and everybody in between that make Diamond Bar the great city that it is. You blessed us with a productive 2023, and Father, right now, we want to lift up 2024 to you. Before we make any plans or any decisions, we ask that your will be done first and foremost. Would you transform the hearts and minds of the people in this city to be aligned with your heart and your mind? Lastly, God, we pray for wisdom and guidance over these council members as they deliberate over the items before them. We pray that every decision is righteous in your sight for our benefit and for your glory. It's in Jesus' name we pray all of these things. Amen.
Amen.
God bless you all.
Thank you so much. Please be seated. City Clerk Santana, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Chow?
Here?
Councilmember Lowe?
Here.
Councilmember Tai?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Tang?
Here.
Mayor Liu?
Here. Thank you. And now we'll move on to the approval of agenda. City Manager Fox, are there any changes to the agenda?
Mayor, there's no changes to the agenda this evening.
Thank you. Special presentation, we have none today. City Manager Fox, are there any reports?
No additional reports this evening.
Thank you. And we'll move on to our public comment section. Public comments is the time reserved on each regular meeting agenda to provide an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the council on consent calendar items or other matters of interest not on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Although the City Council values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, members of the City Council or staff may briefly respond to public comments if necessary, but no extended discussions or no actions on such matters may take place. There is a 5-minute maximum time limit when addressing the City Council. At this time, I will call up speakers who have submitted speaker cards first, and then the City Council's City Clerk Santana will ask for those callers joining teleconference who may wish to speak under public comment. I have received public comments, and some are for later. So for the later comments, we'll save it for when we get to that section. The first one I have received is Ms. Cynthia Yu.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city staff, and members of audience. My name is Cynthia Yu from Diamond Bar Library. Do you want to get the latest ebook, audiobook, or digital magazine to enjoy on your tablet, computer, or smartphone? Please join us this Thursday, January 18th at 1 p.m. to learn how to download them for free with your library card. This program is for adults. Also this Thursday, January 18th at 4 p.m., join us as harpist Peggy Scomo for a musical presentation of pieces played on a concert harp and Celtic harp, while we also learn about its history and background. This program is for ages 5 to 12 with parents and caregivers. Teens, make 2014 the year you reach your goals. Learn about the benefits of visualization, then create a personalized vision board, a collage of images, pictures, and words of goals, dreams, and desires designed to inspire and motivate you all year long. The program will take place on Monday, January 22nd at 4 p.m. For more program and service information, please visit the library's website, lacountylibrary.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cynthia Yu. And next, I have Mr. Alan Wilson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Alan Wilson. I'm a 27-year resident of City of Diamond Bar. Happy New Year, everyone. I just wanted to bring something to the City Council's attention regarding an article that appeared in the Daily Bulletin on Monday, January 8th, regard to the abrupt departure of the city manager of the City of Pomona. The City of Pomona taxpayers are going to fork up $600,000 on the abrupt departure of their city manager. And including that package, let me read this article. It says here, additionally, the city agreed to pay $89,975 in accrued sick leave on or before December 31st, 2023. The sick leave, when I saw that, was kind of large, $89,000 for a city of 110,000. The residents are paying 10.25% sale taxes. I just want to know if the city has anywhere in our city manager's contract what his sick leave balances is, and on top of that, does the general public have information as of December 31st? What is the accrued sick time for all of city employees at City of Diamond Bar and all the vacation time? The reason I ask this question, because this is an incurred cost to the city and it's a incurred cost to the taxpayer. Some employers put a cap on sick leave balances and so forth. This year, starting January 1st, Senate Bill 616 came to effect that all employers supposed to provide their employees 40 hours of sick leave. Now, the rule of thumb is if you run out of sick leave, you need to go on surgery or 2-3 weeks recovery time. That's the reason why you have SDI, State Disability Insurance. You pay into the system, you will get your wages back. But to let you know, the SDI, it happened to me, and I got the check, and it was tax-free. So that was kind of a good thing. I didn't have much sick time. I only had like 16 hours. So the point is that I'm trying to find out was that does the city provide information to the city council? The city council has full federal access to all kinds of information, the sick leave balances and so forth. I did believe, I spoke on the topic before, there should be some kind of cap to the, some reasonable cap on sick leave of 96 hours. And then if you run out and you need to, you could purchase additional insurance for state disability. So I should hope that I know you should renew the city manager's contract last fall, but I don't know what his sick leave balances or vacation balances. So I think the city needs to look at the subject again and find out what is there a cap on sick leave and vacation leave balances? Because it is at a very expensive cost to the taxpayer. I was just read the article about City of Pomona. I was just summed $89,000 of sick leave. I mean, that's more than I make. But anyway, so I hope you get that information, and thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Alan Wilson. Next, we have speaker card from Ms. Diana Lamone of the Diamond Bar Women's Club.
Good evening, Mayor Liu and all the council members. I'm Diana Lamone, and I am the president of the Diamond Bar Women's Club. And with me, I have Abby Howell, our first vice president. So we would just like to say a few words, and I'll let Abby have the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ms.
Thank you,
Abby
Madam.
Howell.
Thank you, Madam President and Mayor and council members. It's a pleasure for the Diamond Bar Women's Club to be here this evening. And thank you for your contributions to the scholarship casino night fundraiser that we're hosting. We appreciate your generosity. Now, we're here this evening to talk about 7.2. And
If it's 7.2, we can discuss this later.
okay, you will.
Right, correct? Okay, I'll call you. I'll call both Ms. Lamone and Ms. Howell. You will be speaking on 7.2.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Well, I'll hold this on to 7.2. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So that's all the speaker cards I have at this time. City Clerk Santana, are there any emails, comments?
Mayor, there were no emails submitted for tonight's public comment period. We do have some members online. If any member of the public joining this meeting via teleconference would like to address the City Council, please select the raised hand icon in your GoToWebinar program. I will unmute callers on the line one at a time. You will know it is your turn to speak when I announce your name and you hear a recorded message state unmuted. And there are no hands raised, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council at this point on subject matters that other than 7.02? Okay. So seeing none, we'll move on and to the. Okay, we will now close public comments. Thank you. We'll move on to scheduled events. City Manager Fox, can you please announce the schedule of upcoming events and then proceed to the consent calendar?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. On the schedule of events, there will be free catalytic converter etching tomorrow, Wednesday, January 17th, from 9 to 11 a.m. at Calvary Chapel on Golden Springs. The Planning Commission will be meeting next Tuesday, January 23rd, starting at 6:30 p.m. in the Windmill Community Room at City Hall. And the Parks and Recreation Commission will be meeting next Thursday, January 25th at 6:30 p.m. in the Windmill Community Room at City Hall. And our next City Council meeting will be held Tuesday, February 6th, starting at 6:30 p.m. here in the AQMD Auditorium. Moving on to the consent calendar. On the consent calendar this evening, you have approval of the December 19th, 2023 meeting minutes. ratification of the check register dated December 13th, 2023 through January 9, 2024, approval of the treasurer's statement for December 2023, and approval of a master agreement with Caltrans for acceptance and use of grant funds under the Highway Safety Improvement Program, including adoption of Resolution 2024-01, designating the Public Works Director to sign necessary grant documents, and a determination that the funding agreement is not subject to the California Environmental Quality Act. And that concludes the consent calendar for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. And would any colleagues would like to pull anything for discussion?
I move approval of the consent calendar, please.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilmember Lowe and then a second from Councilmember Chow. City Clerk Santana, please call for a vote.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Chow?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Tai?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tang?
Yes.
Mayor Lu?
Yes. So thank you, and now we'll move on to item 6.1. City Manager Fox, please provide the report.
Mayor, this is a public hearing on our community development block grant CDBG program allocations for fiscal year 24-25, and our community development director, Greg Gubman, will be making the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Good evening, Mayor Liu and members of the City Council. The Community Development Block Grant Program was established under the Ford administration in 1974 to provide decent housing, a suitable living environment, and economic opportunities for disadvantaged persons and communities, including the elderly and disabled. The Diamond Bar is one of 48 cities in LA County that receives federal CDBG funds through a cooperative agreement with the Los Angeles County Development Authority, which allocates the funds to its participating cities. Tonight I will present to you staff's proposed CDBG budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Before getting into the new budget recommendations, I would like to provide you with a recap of the CDBG program allocations for the current budget year. Our total of newly allocated funds plus prior year carryover funding came to $335,699. And the distribution of that is shown on the screen, which shows $52,230 to senior programs, $145,464 to the Area 4 ADA curb ramp capital improvements project, and $138,000 to the home improvement program. For fiscal year 2024-2025, which commences on July 1st, the LA County Development Authority advised us to assume that we will receive an allocation of $254,581. The final allocations are expected to be provided in late February. If we combined the estimated allocation with prior year unspent funds totaling $77,795, our estimated CDBG budget for the next fiscal year, or for the current fiscal year, is, let me back up, for the next fiscal year is $332,376. The city initially received 4 funding requests for the upcoming fiscal year. As shown in this slide, CDBG program proposals included senior programming, another round of curb ramp upgrades to improve accessibility, a continuation of the Diamond Bar Home Improvement Program, and an application from Heart of Hope, which is a nonprofit that serves special needs children and their families. Heart of Hope ultimately withdrew their application because they found CDBG's household income verification requirements to be something that they would not be able to comply with. There are two categories of programs for which CDBG funds can be used. Those are public works and construction. I'm sorry, not public works, public services and construction, of which public works would be a part. Senior programming falls in the category of public services, while the curb ramp and home improvement programs fall under the construction category. As shown in this table, the total amount requested is about $10,000 more than the estimated funding available. And there are also percentage limits for the distribution of funding between public service and construction programs, which are explained in the next set of slides. The LA County Development Authority allows up to 15% of our annual allocation to be put toward public services, and the funding available for senior programs would thus be $38,187. Because there are no competing public service program funding requests, staff recommends that the maximum amount available go to senior programming. The other 85% of our annual allocation, together with prior year rollovers and loan repayments, may be used to fund construction projects. With the available funds, staff is recommending that $139,189 be applied toward the Area 5 ADA curb ramp improvements, and $155,000 be used to support the home improvement program. Area 5, located in the northern portion of the city, bounded on the north by the 60 freeway, on the west by Diamond Bar Boulevard, and on the south and east by the Armidos and Highcrest neighborhoods. The Public Works Department has identified 9 curb ramp locations that should be prioritized in Area 5, and the map shows that these intersections are along Meadow Falls, El Encino, and at the intersection of Gold Rush and Charmingdale. The home improvement program offers zero-interest deferred loans of up to $30,000 to eligible low and moderate income owners of single-family detached homes, and the recommended allocation of $155,000 would be able to fund at least 5 projects. So to summarize, staff is recommending that with the estimated funds available, $38,187 be used to fund senior programs, and $139,189 be applied toward Area 5 ADA curb ramp improvements, and $155,000 be made available for the home improvement program. With that, I am happy to take your questions.
Thank you. We'll open up to public hearing first. Are there any public comments at this time pertaining to item 6.1? City Clerk Santana, are there any online?
There were no emails received for this item, and there are some callers on the line. So if any member of the public joining this meeting would like to comment on item 6.1, please click the raised hand icon in the GoToWebinar program now. And there are no hands raised, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So once again, are there any public comments on this item? Seeing none, we will close public comment, and we will move on to our colleagues for any of colleagues' comment or discussion. We will start with Councilmember Tai.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Gubben, last year's budget for seniors was 52,230, correct?
Yes.
And this year, we're looking at 37,000. Did we allocate funds for everybody that asked for funds?
Yes.
In the oh, wow, great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Tai and Councilmember Lowe.
Thank you, Mayor. So that 15%, is that a new requirement?
Yes, yes and no. For the past 5 years or so, the LA County Development Authority was allowing Diamond Bar to allocate 20% to public services and 80% to construction. Starting with the upcoming fiscal year, they've sunsetted that, and they've put us back into the 85 to 15% distribution.
I got you. My other question is with respect to repurposing. Is that subject to that 85-15 split as well?
No. So with any rollover funds or loan repayments, that can only be allocated toward construction projects. So it would be that full amount.
So, so back to the social programs, is that if the city itself had a social program directly related to low income or underprivileged individuals, can CBDG funds go toward that, or not really?
If the city or any nonprofit had a program that met the criteria, yes, that would be eligible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lowe. Nothing from Councilmember Chow. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Goodman. During the introduction, you mentioned the initial goal of this grant from the federal level is to provide service for the elderly and the disabled population. You did not mention any like low income the population in that section. And the later, of course, that the low income is one of the requirement to apply for this fund. So when was this low income criteria added to the requirement?
Low income, or actually up to moderate income, has always been a requirement for the elderly and disabled. They are presumed to fall into that moderate or lower income category, so they're automatically eligible.
In this year's application, and I know that Heart of Hope eventually withdraw, but I consider them to be like they are serving the disabled population, so that maybe they should be automatically qualified without the need to provide like a income tax return to demonstrate that they are low income.
We consulted with the LA County Development Authority with that question specifically, and their response was that although the program is serving disabled children, it's the household income that prevails. So if it was a program serving disabled adults that are the heads of their own household, they would be eligible. But unfortunately, the determination we received back is that when the children are dependents of a household, then we have to base eligibility on the household income.
Thank you for your response.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Is there any questions or comments from our colleagues? Seeing none, would like colleagues to make a motion?
I would make a motion to adopt resolution number 2024-02, approving the CDBG grant funding allocations for this fiscal year, 24-25.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So we have a motion from Councilmember Tai and a second from Councilmember Lowe. City Clerk Santana, please call for a vote.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Chow?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Tai?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tang?
Yes.
Mayor Lu?
Yes. Motion passed. Thank you. And next, we'll move on to the next item, item 7.1. City Manager Fox, please provide the report.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year ending on 2022-23, and Finance Director Jason Jacobson will be making the staff presentation.
Thank you, City Manager Dan Fox. Is the presentation there? Okay. Good evening, Mayor Lu and members of the City Council. As your Finance Director, it is my honor to present you today with the financial results for the fiscal year ending 22-23, as reported in the annual comprehensive financial report, as well as the year-end audit results. Before I begin, I would like to first thank the City Council and the City Manager for your continued support for the Finance Department over these past few years, as well as the contributors to the ACFR in my own department, Peter Sammy, our Finance Director, who's with us tonight, and Lupe Sotomayor, our accountant. Both employees, as you'll know, have been hired over the last 2 years and are relatively new, as am I, with the City of Diamond Bar. Lastly, we're also grateful for the external auditors, LSL, for their ongoing diligence in undertaking the annual audit, the external audit, to ensure that we are providing the City Council, the public, and our creditors with accurate financial statements. Tonight, we'll be going over the external audit results. We'll also look at the financial report, the ACFR, as we refer to it. I'll highlight the key results for the fiscal year. Then I'll also mention where to find the report and also the staff recommendation. Now let's get on to what can really only be described as great results. Okay, once again, we finished the year with a clean audit, meaning that our external auditors issued an unmodified opinion, meaning again that based on their audit of significant transactions, their understanding of the city's policies and procedures, and their test work results throughout the year, they have issued an opinion that the financial statements, as reported in the ACFR, are free of material misstatements at June 30th, 2023. In addition to this, they also issued letters to the City Council stating they had no difficulties encountered with performing the audit and no disagreements with city management, my own department, or the City Manager's office with regards to disclosure. Unfortunately, LSL reps were not able to make today's meeting, though they tried, but they are always available to the council should you have any questions regarding the audit or the financial statements. Again, I want to reiterate, they are your auditors. They're not my auditors. They are the constituents you represent. They work for you guys. All right, just a brief overview of the ACFR document itself. It changes, year over year. There's new requirements, but overall, you'll find there's 5, key sections to hone in on. The ACFR really presents a snapshot of everything we do as a finance department throughout the year, and also the other operating departments as well. From budgeting to accounts payable, from purchasing to payroll, investments to grants management. It's all in there, and that's the reason it can be a sort of overwhelming document to those who are new to it. So just a little bit of a sort of a wayfinding. I think it would be great for those who are unfamiliar with the document to start with what's called the MD&A, the Management Discussion and Analysis. It highlights all of the key sections, all of the results of those key sections of the financial statements. It's about 14 pages. The government-wide financial statements also are where you can find the statement of net position and the statement of activities. This is a very high-level view of the city operations and includes everything all in one bucket, essentially, without regards to any sort of funding or fund types that you might be familiar with. This is an important part of the document. It's a relatively new feature of the ACFR, and it's a way for essentially Wall Street folks to compare cities apples to apples, because there's such a variety among us throughout the entire country. More interesting to policymakers, city council members, are the fund financial statements and the supplemental schedules, which includes a budgetary comparison of all of our funds, how they perform throughout the year based on comparisons to the budget. The fund financial statements, those break down the operating fund, the general fund, as well as the CIP fund, and any other fund that we have are included in these fund financial statements. Lastly, for the interested reader, we have the statistical section, which is my favorite section. This tracks how all of the above financial results have changed throughout the past 10 years, and includes other interesting facts such as financial trends, debt capacity, demographics, and capital assets of the city. So without further ado, I will dive into the numbers. Again, very high level. I have on each slide here where you might find some additional information within the ACFR at the bottom of the notes there. But overall, citywide, all in, all funds together, we had a revenue totaling $44.5 million. This is an increase of 13% from the prior year. Total costs for all city programs totaled $37.4 million. This is an increase of 12% from the prior year. The net position, which is the difference between the city's assets and liabilities at the close of the last fiscal year, was $394.7 million. This is an increase year over year of 7.1% from the prior year, and a substantial increase from the year prior to that, which had an increase of $5.4 million year over year. Of this amount, $33.8 million represents unrestricted net position across all funds. When you program that money, that would be at the fund level. But of this amount, you have $33.8 million in unrestricted net position to be used to meet the city's ongoing obligations to citizens and creditors. Now diving into the general fund, our main operating fund. The city's revenues in the general fund increased $3.5 million year over year to $33.4 million. This is consistent with our revised budget of $32.7 million for the last fiscal year. As with the prior year, $3.4 million in general fund revenue is attributable to the receipt of the second tranche of the ARPA monies, the American Rescue Plan Act. This was the $3.4 million that we received last fiscal year. The fiscal year 22-23 year-over-year revenue increase of $3.5 million could therefore be primarily attributed to the result of revenue growth across key categories, such as property tax in lieu of vehicle license fees. This increased $326,000. Sales tax increased $471,000. Transient occupancy taxes increased $103,000. And ad valorem property taxes increased $511,000. In addition, we had an increase in investment earnings of $1.1 million year over year. And the Diamond Bar Center brought in an additional $330,000 year over year, which was, I think, about a 70% increase. Fees for services related to engineering, building and safety, and recreation classes in total brought in an aggregate increase of $375,000 year over year. So that's the revenues. On the expense side, total expenses for the year were $29 million, an amount that was $4.7 million below the revised budget, as you would hope, which was $33.7 million. On a budgetary level, these savings are mostly attributable to unutilized funds appropriated to transfers out from the general fund, which support our CIP fund. This amounts to about $1.4 million. In addition to these savings, there was a combined savings of $1.9 million in contracted and professional services across all departments, of which $639,000 has been carried over into the current year for reappropriation to meet ongoing expenditures. And mainly, the bulk of this amount is due to the town center specific plan, which is ongoing. Lastly, combined savings from personnel and other O&M is 1.4 million compared to the budget. Now that's on a budgetary basis. Year over year on an expenditure basis, comparing the actual expenses, there was actually an increase year over year in expenses, just as there was an increase year over year in revenues. Though below budget, as was hoped, expenditures were up 1.9 million, mainly due to an increase of 585,000 in contractual and professional services, an increase of 1 million in operation and maintenance costs, and an increase of 263,000 in transfers to other funds. Again, these will all be more presented in more digestible format in the mid-year budget update or the annual adoption. Oops, sorry. Go back. Uh-oh. Okay, so that brings us to the year-end results. $4.4 million is the net surplus for the fiscal year. This is compared to a budgeted use of fund balance of $1 million for the prior fiscal year. Now, there's multiple factors that affected the results. Again, the surplus of $4.4 million is revenues less expenses. It's rather simple. We had revenues come in higher than expected, than previously anticipated in the prior fiscal year. Property tax could be attributed to $840,000 of that increase. Sales tax, like I mentioned, came in higher, $471,000. There was a strong performance at the Diamond Bar Center. The investment earnings, again, came in higher due to increasing interest rates. Savings in contract and professional services. Transfers out to other funds, savings there of $1.4 million, a lot of that of which will have to be carried over to the current fiscal year for ongoing CIP projects. And lastly, the ARPA monies, again, it's hard to sort of conceptualize. We received this money over 2 years. We programmed it over essentially 4 fiscal years, I think, or maybe 3. But the net results of the ARPA monies coming in for last fiscal year attributed $1.2 million to the surplus. And so, again, that's funding that came in that exceeded the expenses. And we've already programmed that money. It's just $1.2 million is still ongoing in ongoing projects. So summing up the general fund, we'll move on to the other governmental funds. Okay. That brings us to our governmental fund balances, which are also reported in the ACFR. Other funds, as you can see below here, we have the general fund on the top and other governmental funds. These other governmental funds include, like I said, every other fund that we have, such as the CIP fund, the special revenue funds such as Metro funds, Measure R, Prop A, the landscape districts, the Park Development Fund. However, this group does not include what we call proprietary funds, which are our self-insurance fund, our vehicle maintenance fund, our building maintenance fund, et cetera. So we have 4 of those funds. Those funds are also called internal service funds, and they are reported in the proprietary fund schedule. And also, there's a page on the statistical section on page 118, and in the proprietary fund schedule as well. And the numbers you see when I talk about all governmental activities do include those funds. It's just a weird quirk of GASB. I do apologize for that. So as you can see, year over year, governmental funds, the fund balances in those funds increased $7.3 million. And here is a graphical display of that. Here's the 10-year history. Again, this information is available in the statistical section, starting on page 115. The general fund here highlighted in dark blue, and all other funds combined highlighted in the lighter blue there. Okay, here we see, and I'm sorry it's a little small for the audience in the auditorium tonight, but the table we have before us is the listing of our key operating reserves for the city. This brings us to really what is the big question: what is the unassigned fund balance for the general fund? And that amount is right here, highlighted in yellow. That is $3.3 million increase. The new year-end fund balance for fiscal year ending 2023 is $22.9 million or $23 million. Of note, in addition to this unassigned fund balance, we have a new account created for those funds which are committed to CIPs. As I mentioned previously, the general fund supplies some funding for CIPs when no other funding source is available. The amount remaining in this account is $1.3 million. And that amount, again, is already appropriated, but we just need to set it aside, pull it out of that unassigned fund balance so that it doesn't get confused and commingled. So we created that account last fiscal year to keep track of that. In addition to these amounts, the City Council has a long-term goal to build unrestricted reserve funds to provide flexibility, respond to emergencies, fund new projects, and replace and maintain facilities and capital equipment and assets. For this reason, the City Council approved an updated fund balance and reserve policy in August of 2019, which established an amount of no less than 25% of general fund expenditures as a formal commitment of fund balance to be set aside as an emergency contingency for federal, state, and local emergencies. This amount is shown here, highlighted at the top here at $7.98 million. The policy I just referenced was also attached to the agenda report tonight, included in the packet. A little bit more about the city's fund balance and reserve policy. This policy also requires that we maintain a funding ratio of 80% for our OPEB liabilities, which are other post-employment benefits, discussed further in the agenda report. As mentioned, the amount, that funding level was 71% as of June 30th, 2023, which was a large increase from the prior year amount of 57%. However, like I mentioned, this the policy requirement is an 80% funding level. For that reason, staff is recommending tonight that the council approve a transfer from the general fund unassigned reserves to the OPEB reserve fund in the amount of $76,000 to bring that funding level up to 80%. In addition, sorry, backslide. In addition, the reserve policy also requires that once we have fulfilled the various requirements laid forth in the policy, such as that 80% funding level, that 40% of the remaining increase in the general fund unassigned fund balance be used to shore up reserves in both the Park Development Fund and the Building Maintenance Fund, leaving 20% in the general fund unassigned category. Those other two funds are highlighted below in green. Those are the reserve balances. As you can see, we ended the year with $1.56 million in the Park and Facility Reserve Fund and $1.1 million in the Building Maintenance Fund. Staff is also recommending tonight, therefore, that the City Council transfer an additional $1.2 million to both of these funds. The $1.2 million represents the 40% of the remaining unassigned fund balance, increase in the unassigned fund balance. It should be noted that this action, if approved, will bring the ending unassigned reserve balance for the general fund to $20.5 million for the year ending June 30th, 2023. I also would like to point out that the current fiscal year budget includes approximately $2 million in use of unassigned fund balance in the general fund for those one-time projects, some of which were presented at budget adoption and some of which have occurred throughout the current fiscal year, as we're now with 6.5 months into the fiscal year. Also relevant to the discussion is the appropriations currently within the Park Development and Building Maintenance Funds. These are mainly for CIP projects. Should all projects be completed this year, the ending fund balances for the Park Development Fund would be $235,000, ending June 30th, 2024, and the Building Maintenance Fund balance would be $870,000, year ending June 30th, 2024, 5.5 months from now. So therefore, approving the staff recommendation to transfer 40% of the increase in the unassigned fund balance to these two funds would bring the budgetary fund balance for those two funds up to $1.4 million and $2.1 million, respectively. That concludes the results. I just wanted to quickly mention that once approved tonight, the ACFR will be available on the city's website. And now I conclude with our recommendation to receive and file the fiscal year 2023 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, approve an appropriation of unassigned general fund reserves in the amount of $76,000 to the OPEB Reserve Fund, approve an appropriation of unassigned general fund reserves in the amount of $1,204,585 to both the Park and Facility Development Fund and the Building Maintenance and Replacement Fund. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director Jacobson. Now we'll open up to public comment. Are there anyone in the audience that would like to make a public comment on this item? City Clerk Santana, are there anyone online that would like to make a comment?
Thank you, Mayor. There were no emails received for this item, and if anyone joining this teleconference would like to provide a comment on item 7.1, please click on the raised hand icon in your GoToWebinar program now. No hands raised, Mayor.
Thank you. So seeing no one in person or online, we will now close public comment, and we'll go to our colleagues for comments and discussion. Councilmember Tai?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Jacobson, how did you let the CAFR become the ACFR? You had nothing to do with it, did you?
Do we want to go there?
No, we don't. But I don't also think we
It
want
was
to
a
go.
requirement, yeah.
I don't think we want to go either to your contention that there are interested readers about the statistics. Nobody came down to ask about your statistics,
So
did
they're
they?
reading it.
So, yeah, all right, if you say so. I think you made a really interesting comment. You said, when we get started on this, we have great results. And you get great results when you have a great team. And we do have a great team, right from the top with City Manager Fox and your team. So Jason, Peter, and Lupe, great job. Thanks so much for providing this. Everybody knows it doesn't happen by accident. So thank you very much for your hard work.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Tai. Councilmember Lowe.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, I beg to differ because the fun reading at the statistical, that's also my favorite part as well. So, in fact, this was a really excellent report, and Mr. Jacobson, it's fantastic. My question is, to what extent are these fantastic balances a result of the funds that we got from the federal government as a result of the COVID relief? And going forward, what can we expect since that well is now depleted?
That's a great question, Councilmember Lowe. Sorry if I wasn't clear. The net impact to the $4.4 million increase in the general fund balance is $1.2 million. And so had ARPA never happened, you would just reduce the 4.4 million by 1.2. So that would become, 3.2. And essentially, I wouldn't expect that year to repeat itself. We had, again, $1 million increase year over year in investment earnings. Last year, you might recall that we had an $800,000, I believe, unrealized loss. So we had to book that. We have to book those unrealized losses as well as the unrealized gains. So that's a big differential just in that one category alone. So who knows what the future holds?
Well, I noticed that in the statistical analysis that our funds, our general funds, the value of the funds grow over time, as they have in the short presentation that you gave us today. Somebody asked me about reserves that our city holds, and if you could just help me to explain to someone who might be asking, and if I can just have you explain how our our reserve funds are accounted for, and maybe give like an easy example so that our residents can understand why we have so many different funds, but how much do we really have?
Yeah, so the governmental funds is the best schedule to go to, but to kind of understand how those numbers come about. The numbers presented tonight, at the high level, general fund and then other governmental funds, those reserves accumulate over time. When we have a new funding source, we have to account for it separately. We have the general fund, which is all of the unrestricted monies, such as property tax, sales tax, transient occupancy tax. That goes into our normal operations. Then throughout the history of time, new funding sources have developed from various county sources, federal sources, state sources. We have to account for those in different funds. Some of those are more restricted than others. Some of them are highly restricted, such as Prop A or CDBG, as we learned tonight. We have to account for those separately. So you could find in the budgetary schedules in the ACFR, you can find the revenues we receive from CDBG and the expenses and the year-end fund balance. That's all reported in there. When you want to know what each individual fund does and how that can be used, you would need to go to the budget for that. The budget discusses more of the policy side, the programming side, what is being presented for appropriation in these funds, how much in revenue is expected for the next year, what that projected year-end fund balance might be. So every annual budget I present to you, I bring to you a full list of all the city's funds. It's a giant schedule, but it's a sources and uses schedule. It has the beginning fund balance. It has all the revenue we expect to receive that year, all of the appropriations requested for your approval, and then the resulting ending projected fund balance. Again, that's just a estimated budgetary result. We don't know what that's going to be until we go through and prepare these financial reports and account for every penny for each fund.
So it just seems to me that with all these various funds, it just describes all the different things that the city now engages in. We do so many different things, and we're involved in so many projects. So it's really commendable, all the work that our city staff does. So thank you all really for just great work as reflected in our statements. And I think I saw an answer to the question from a speaker earlier about fund liability on sick leave and vacation. I think I saw that in one of the notes in your report, correct?
It is reported, yeah.
Yeah, it's reported. That's what I thought. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And it's really a great job, a great report. And I think that our 10-year picture shows the value of stability and about stability and just moving forward in a organized, measured fashion to establish a firm foundation for our city. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Lowe. And Councilmember Chow.
Quick question. So I just want to clarify, make sure I heard it right. So as far as Diamond Bar Center, I believe you mentioned that there was a 330,000-ish. Is that profit? Is that revenue? Are we net positive?
Revenue.
Revenue.
Yeah. So that was the increase in revenue year over year.
So in other words, Diamond Bar Center brought us a net revenue of 300,000 from all the rentals.
No,
and
I'm
all
sorry,
that.
Councilmember Chow. The total revenue increase, just the year-over-year increase, was 330-something thousand. I don't have the number in front of me for the total revenue. I was just isolating the differences year over year to kind of get into how we have that net surplus. What were some of those things? Well, year over year, Diamond Bar Center brought in an additional 300-something thousand.
I see.
I can get you the number.
Okay. Got me excited for a second. Second question, just for clarification. So if I heard you right, and I think everyone's still awake for this part, but the revenue for the general fund, as it turned out to be 33.4 million, and our expenditure was about 29 million for a net increase or budgetary increase of 4.4 million surplus. Taking away the opera fund, the COVID funds of 1.2, we had a net surplus of 3.2 million.
No, I'm sorry, Councilmember Chow. You don't want to net out anything else. Everything is already netted out on that schedule. But when we're just talking about that increase of the year-over-year, the results, how do we factor in what was the impact of the ARPA monies? The impact was 1.2 million. That money is already accounted for. It's already, essentially, we received it last fiscal year. It's in the unassigned fund balance. Actually, no, I'm sorry, let me clarify that. Most of that money is going towards the CIP. We have what we call the ARPA offset projects. So in that CIP contingency amount, or the set aside for the CIPs, 1.3 million, that's mostly the ARPA funding there.
So would it be fair to say then from a budgetary standpoint, we ended the fiscal year with a surplus of 3.2 million? Or would it be fair to say it's 4.4 million?
4.4.
4.4.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's taking into account the 1.2.
Yeah, so of that 4.4, 1.2 would never have happened had ARPA funding never been a thing, essentially.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Chow. Okay, no question. Thank you, Mr. Jacobson. And it's so good to see finances are going the positive direction. I do have one question. Can you summarize what's the difference between the citywide revenue and as opposed to a general fund revenue?
Sure. So again, Mayor Lou, we have approximately 30-something funds. So when we look at revenue across all of those funds, that's what I mean when I say citywide revenue. It includes Metro Fund revenue. It includes landscape district assessment revenue. It includes any revenue from any investments that we have from the CERT account, the OPEB trust. It includes every single fund together in one bucket, essentially. It's looking at it at the highest possible level, the highest unit you can, versus at every individual funding level. That's how you and I might look at the city's finances at the fund level. That's how we program it, right? That's how we manage the fund balances. If we have revenues exceeding expenses, we look at that fund, individual fund is having a positive surplus at the end of the year. Sometimes we dip into that positive surplus, the fund balance that's been built up year over year. But we have to do that within the confines of an individual fund. That's sort of the lowest level of, at the policy level, that's the lowest level that we program at. When we bring everything together, citywide, that's on the government activities page. And it does break it out in the ACFR as far as types of revenue, high-level categories, such as revenue from other agencies, revenue from grants. No details are provided. That's not the intent of that schedule. It does break down, when we talk about all funds, the expenses, it talks about it in terms of public works expenses, general government expenses. No details are provided. It's just to kind of give the reader who is completely unfamiliar with the city, perhaps someone at a bank, somebody at Wall Street, a way to look at the city and compare it to other cities of similar size, right? And what is our net position? Is it going up? Is it going down? What's the general trend? Because they don't understand the nuances of the city of Diamond Bar, the county of LA, the state of California, because they may have no exposure to us.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so any more discussion coming? Seeing none,
I'll do the motion. Should we do one motion or individual? Okay, I move that we received and filed the annual comprehensive financial report. That's item A. I move item B, which is to approve an appropriation of unassigned general fund reserves in the amount of $76,000 to the OPED reserve fund. I move item C, approve appropriation of unassigned general fund reserves in the amount of $1,204,585 to the Park and Facility Development Fund. And finally, item D, approve an appropriation of unassigned general fund reserves in the amount of $1,204,585 to the Building and Maintenance Fund.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Lowe
I'll second.
and a second from Councilmember Chow. City Clerk Santana, please call for a vote.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Chow?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Tai?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tang?
Yes.
Mayor Lu?
Yes. So motion passed. Thank you. And we'll move on to item 7.2. City Manager Fox, please provide the report.
Good evening, Mayor Lou. This item is the results of the waste hauler procurement, and our Assistant City Manager, Ryan McLean, will make the staff presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Lou and members of the City Council. This evening before the council is the results of the Solid Waste Services procurement process. I'll start by providing a little bit of background. Both Valley Vista and Waste Management have been the city's providers of solid waste services in the residential and commercial sectors since the year 2000. Valley Vista handles the commercial and multifamily residential units with bin service, while Waste Management handles single-family residential and multifamily residential with cart service. Both of these agreements were amended and restated in 2010 and 2017, and the most recent amendment and restatement extended the terms through August 31st of 2023. As we embarked in the procurement process, the City Council approved a 2-year extension back in May of 2023. This allowed time to conduct the procurement process, release the RFP, and bring the results to the City Council as we're doing this evening. That extension ultimately leaves the end of the current agreements in August of 2025. In April 2022, the council first directed staff to commence an exclusive procurement process with Valley Vista and Waste Management. In June, we entered into a consulting services agreement with Sloan Vasquez McAfee. This is an industry leader in the procurement process as a consultant, and they provided assistance necessary to put together the RFP and conduct the procurement. In May of this year, the city approved the term extensions, as I mentioned, and released the RFP. Ultimately, both haulers provided a response to the RFP on August 30th of 2023. A little bit about the procurement process and the contents of the RFP. The RFP proposes a 10-year term plus a 2-year extension window. The scope of work included standard residential cart and commercial bin waste and recycling service, compliance with state mandates, including SB 1383, which is the statewide organics, waste recycling, and surplus food recovery mandates. We also included additional residential services that our residents have taken advantage of over the years, including backyard service, on-call bulky pickups, household hazardous waste, e-waste, curbside used oil, holiday tree collection, and so forth. There is also additional commercial and multifamily services included in the scope of work, on-call bulky item pickup, organics, and roll-off services. We've also included other services in the scope: construction and demolition disposal for construction work, services for city facilities and events, abandoned item collection, and extensive customer engagement and education programming. There's also outlined the fees due to the city as part of the franchise, including franchise fees, CalRecycle compliance fees, and street impact and sweeping fees. And these all help to cover the cost of administering the franchises, the city's waste program, and address any impacts to the city's infrastructure as a result of such programming. So as the results of the RFP came in, there were options that were developed. All of the respondents, both Waste Management and Valley Vista, provided proposals for both the residential sector and citywide, as well as commercial. All proposals met the minimum requirements that were established in the scope of work. So that means that both haulers indicated that they could meet the requirements that we spelled out in that document. So this leaves the City Council with 4 options based on the combinations of the responses. And as you'll see on the screen, option 1 is the status quo. That is Waste Management providing residential and Valley Vista providing the commercial sector. Option 2 is Valley Vista providing residential service and Waste Management providing commercial. It flips the script that we've had for the last 20+ years. Option 3 is Valley Vista citywide service, both the residential and commercial sectors. And finally, option 4 is Waste Management citywide, again with both sectors. Each of these options were analyzed and ranked by the city's consultant, as well as staff, and we'll get into that in the forthcoming slides. So our consultant, Sloan Vasquez McAfee, rated each option that was provided by the respondents on 6 criteria, and they used a weighted point system with a max score of 1,000 points. And the 6 items that were analyzed included responsiveness. Now, this one did not receive points. This was simply a pass-fail. The hauler either met the scope in the RFP or did not, and in this case, both haulers met the scope. For qualifications and experience, this was 50% or 5% of the total. This is ensuring that the proposal showed a proven ability to provide the service, the background references check out, customer service systems are in place to effectively meet the needs of the community, and that there's adequate personnel assigned to the Diamond Bar contract. For technical response, this is 300 points or 30%. This is the implementation plan, the ability to meet state mandates and requirements, and to conduct quality outreach and engagement to our residents and businesses. For financial resources, this is 100 of the 1,000 points or 10%. This is the overall fiscal health and longevity that could be expected of the company. The rate proposal, the fifth criteria. This is 50%, 500 points. This is the competitiveness and reasonableness of the proposal that was provided for both commercial and residential rates by the respondents. And then finally, number 6 is the exceptions to the city's draft agreement. This is 50 points or 5%. This evaluates whether the proposal had any proposed changes to the standard agreement or indicated there would need to be additional negotiation necessary. And so the results of the analysis were very close, as you can see on the screen. Our consultant noted that Waste Management citywide came in first among the 4 options with 952 points out of 1,000. The second option was Valley Vista providing residential and Waste Management providing commercial with 947 points. Valley Vista citywide was the third ranked option at 933. And finally, the status quo Waste Management residential and Valley Vista commercial came in fourth with 926 points. The slight differences in the top 2 options ultimately were the result of rate differences and the measured financial stability of the firms. So a few notes on the proposal. As you can see, both of the proposers are qualified. The city has had a long-standing working relationship with both of the proposers. We've had good working relationships when it comes to customer service and responding to the needs of residents and businesses, and that's been established over a long period of time, going back to 2000. Our respondents met the scope of services, as I've mentioned, and they've produced proposals with 2 options that result in rate reductions. Those 2 options that result in rate reductions are option 4, which is Waste Management citywide. This results in a reduction in annual rate revenue of nearly 13% over current levels. Option 2, Valley Vista residential and Waste Management commercial, reduces the annual rate revenue by 9.8%, close to 10% over current levels. And when I'm mentioning annual rate revenue, this is simply the total annual revenue expected to be generated in each sector. So this is what the ratepayers pay annually. And so we'll look into this in a little bit more detail in the next slide. And I know there's a lot of numbers here, so I'll do my best to communicate effectively or as best I can. As you can see on the slide, only option 2 and option 4 result in rate reductions for customers. And so with that, we're going to focus our presentation on those 2 options that lead to rate reductions for the customer. And we'll start by looking at option 4. Option 4, again, is Waste Management citywide. This is the proposal with the greatest overall positive impact on ratepayers, meaning that it generates the greatest reduction overall in annual rates. This reduces year one rate revenues by about $1.24 million. Again, that's 12.9% lower than when compared to current rates. In this case, residential revenues are cut significantly, nearly 23%, with offsets in the commercial sector where rate revenues increase by about 15.7%. When looking at option 2, Valley Vista residential and Waste Management commercial, this again is flipping the sectors from where we are today. This reduces year 1 rate revenues by about $949,000 in year 1, or 9.8% when compared to current rates. Of the 4 options, this option has the second greatest overall impact on ratepayers. And in this scenario, residential revenues drop by 9.8% and commercial revenues decrease by 7.2%. And so looking at both scenarios, option 4 offers added savings of about $300,000 in year 1 when compared to option 2, but the savings are only applied to residential customers. Option 2, on the other hand, provides less overall rate revenue savings, but does result in rate reductions in both the residential and commercial sector. So let's spend a minute or two looking at the different sectors in more detail. So the residential sector is by far the largest sector. This has the most individual accounts. There are over 13,000 single-family residential unit accounts in the residential sector. There are also 16 multifamily accounts that are handled by Waste Management in this case. These are multifamily accounts that receive cart service. And in those 16 multifamily accounts, there are 2,400 and about 90 individual units within those accounts. Remember, with these multifamily accounts often are managed by an HOA, and that HOA then provides that service to each of the units within the HOA under their dues. So when you look at this in total, the residential sector makes up 97.8 of total customer accounts in Diamond Bar and about 85.6 of the housing units across both sectors. So the slide on the screen before you shows the proposed residential rates by option, and we are comparing those with the rates that are current and as they're expected to be with inflation adjustments on July 1st of 2024. You'll see here the different scenarios based on the size of the cart and whether or not it's standard service or senior service. Looking at option 4, again, Waste Management citywide, this reduces monthly residential rates by anywhere from 9.5% to 29.6%, depending on the service. Option 2, Valley Vista Residential and Waste Management Commercial, reduces the monthly residential rates by a range from 6.7% to 20.9%. Looking at what is generally standard service would be 64-gallon cart service. When looking at this particular service, option 4 results in a 24.1% reduction, while option 2 results in a 10.3% reduction. I know that's a lot of numbers. Again, in both of these options here, you're looking at reductions in the rates that are provided to residential service or residential customers. They're just a different range in that reduction. Moving on to the commercial sector. This is service to our business community and the majority of our multifamily units. There are 269 commercial accounts in this sector and 31 multifamily accounts with a total of 2,620 individual housing units. And again, these are multifamily housing units that receive bin service. This represents 2.2% of customer accounts in town and about 14.4% of total residential units across sectors. So a few notes on commercial rates as they compare to residential rates. There are some factors that make this sector a little more unique when we compare it to the residential side. There's a little less uniformity in the way the rates are applied. It's not as simple as in a single-family home where you have 3 carts. You have your trash, your recycling, and your green bin. It's a little bit different on the commercial side because there's variability in each business in their needs, how much waste they generate. A small office, for example, is going to generate a fraction of what a manufacturing use might. Something also to consider when reviewing commercial rates and how they might impact a particular business. Similar to the example I used related to an HOA and multifamily units, there's often a situation where there is a single master account for a commercial center. In that case, the property management or the owner would have an account. That account would then parcel out each share of the waste costs to the business as part of their lease. Obviously, that's just one example. If there's a standalone business, let's say a cabinet shop, they're going to have their own account. They're going to have different needs than that office, just based on the amount of material they might generate. So as mentioned previously, there are really only one of the 4 options that has been proposed results in rate reductions on the commercial side. And this is option 2, which again is Valley Vista Residential and Waste Management Commercial. The remaining 3 options that have been submitted all result in increases on the commercial side with reductions on the residential side. It's also worth noting that both citywide proposals that were submitted have significant residential rate reductions and corresponding increases on the commercial side. So on the screen here is a display of the commercial rates for our current situation. Options 1 and 3 with Valley Vista providing commercial service, option 2 with Waste Management providing commercial service, and option 4 with Waste Management providing it citywide. Again, 3 of the 4 options result in increases on the commercial side. Options 1 and 3, in which Valley Vista would provide commercial service, results in rate revenue increases of 44.6%. When you look at each of the individual rates shown on the screen, those rates are adjusted by anywhere from 0.2% to 49.7%, depending on the number and size of pickups. Option 4, in which commercial service would be provided by Waste Management, results in total rate revenue increases of 15.7%, with the individual rates in each of those categories adjusted by 3.4 to 26.5%, again, depending on the number and size of pickups that are necessary for the account. Only option 2, Valley Vista Residential and Waste Management Commercial, reduces ratepayer impacts in both sectors, and those reductions range from 1.4% to 15.4% on the commercial side with those rates, depending, again, on the number and volume of pickups per week. So we really have 2 options that result in rate reductions for the customer, and we'll get into a little bit more detail on each of those. We'll start with considering option 4. Option 4 provides the greatest amount of rate reduction to the greatest number of accounts. Again, this number exceeds option 2's savings by about $300,000 in year 1. Option 4 offers a single contract for more efficient management on the city side, and a single source for customer service management and inquiry. Option 4 offers a more dedicated hauler personnel based on their proposal to the waste management contract. And there's also a very robust outreach and education component that was submitted in the Waste Management Citywide Option 4 proposal. One thing to note, while there is a significant reduction on the residential side, again, there are increases on the commercial side when you're considering option 4. When considering option 2, this again is Valley Vista Residential and Waste Management Commercial. This reduces total rate revenue by about 10%. This is the only option that results in reductions in both the residential and commercial sector. This would require management of 2 hauler contracts, something we've done for a long time, but would have an impact as far as having 2 different customer service providers. This does allow the city to maintain relationships with its 2 longstanding waste hauler partners. And one other note to consider when thinking about option 2 is that a switch in residential haulers impacts the most customers, and so there'll be a little bit extra work required to educate and engage the public about the switch, again, which would be the first in going on 23 years. And so, based on the council's decision tonight, once the council has had an opportunity to deliberate and provide direction to staff, we would take that direction and we would begin the process of finalizing contract terms with the council's selected hauler or haulers. Once we had completed that process, those final contracts would be brought back to the city council at a subsequent meeting for consideration and approval. Once approved, we would work with the hauler or haulers to implement the direction of the council and work with the public as needed to prepare for any adjustments that may be necessary. And so with that, I would turn the matter over to the mayor and city council to deliberate and provide direction to staff and answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Now we'll open up to public comment. We have received 9 speaker cards, and I will call each individual up to speak. First, we have Ms. Abby Howell of Diamond Bar Women's Club.
Short. Thank you, Mayor Liu and council members. In viewing the current situation under waste management, I can appreciate option 2, and here's why. I'm a long-term resident of Walnut and as well as Valley Vista. I have had the pleasure of 29 years of having lived in the area and being serviced by them for the last 6 years. No matter if it's a bulk transfer or it's just my everyday putting out my trash cans on Sunday night for Monday pickup. I've never experienced a problem. So I can attest to that. They're community orientated. And as first vice president of the Diamond Bar Women's Club, I have called on them occasionally to help and support one of the longest and oldest nonprofit organizations in the community since 1965 being incorporated. Without fail, they have stepped forward to assist us with different programs, and that's transportation as well. So it would take a little bit of education to do a flip in that number 2. Sometimes we get complacent, and it was a 10-year stay, just the other way around. But we all can use some savings, no matter if it's large or small. Some savings will always remain a savings in a residential household. So thank you. I encourage you to look at the option number 2 moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Howell and Ms. Lamone. And next we have Ms. Sonia Reed.
Good evening, Mayor Lowe, members of the City Council. I'm Sonia Reed, Diamond Bar Women's Club. I'm the chair of Megan Spirits Bride Military Program, Camp Pendleton, Diamond Bar Marine Base. I was looking at this proposal, and I'm definitely for option 2. Nor is Valley Vista just a service company for our community, but they are also great support in our programs in our community. And I think that is something to really be considered. Besides savings and for our residents is very important, but also the relationships with the company that's supporting us is important. Example, we were in desperate need, Megan Spirits Bride, to deliver our Christmas presents to 29 Palms Marine Base. Who stepped up? Valley Vista. They donated a truck driver and also someone to help us load the gifts onto the truck from the Ifrit Church and my house and deliver them. I encourage you, members of the City Council, to seriously consider option 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sonia Reed. Next we have Ms. Linda Haley.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'm from the Miss Diamond Bar Scholarship Pageant, and I also am for option 2, which seemed a fair way to split the cost to everybody. Valley Vista has always been a sponsor of the Miss Diamond Bar for over 30 years that I can remember. They've helped us with their donation to provide this program and scholarship money for the young ladies in Diamond Bar, and so I am here to say I think option 2 seems to be the best choice. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have a speaker card from Mr. Stuart Pompeo.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. I come at this from a little bit unique perspective. I'm not a resident of City and Diamond Bar, but I am the Chief Executive Officer of Pacific Crest Youth Arts Organization, which was born here in Diamond Bar 31 years ago as of February 1st. So I'm very proud to be an institution here that serves over 4,000 students in music and performing arts with a flagship program that tours the United States every summer. But in particular, I think goes without saying that both companies here have a proven track record of decades of support of the communities in which they exist and participate. But I want to speak to you tonight specifically about Valley Vista. We have 3 semi-trailers to move our huge circus down the road each summer. And Valley Vista stepped up several years ago when we had no place to park them and offered space. So what that means is the thousands of dollars that we're saving in rent due to their major support over the past 4 or 5 years has allowed us to increase our scholarship fund that allows more students to participate in our program who might otherwise not. So I wanted to just mention that and put that on the record that Valley Vista has been, like Waste Management, huge support in the community, but in particular for Pacific Crest, as a major supporter and a major sponsor, Valley Vista has come through big time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mapel. Next, we have speakers from the Regional Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening, Mayor Liu, Mayor Pro Tem Tang, council members, city staff, audience, and residents of Diamond Bar. I'd like to, first of all, wish all of you a very happy new year, prosperous and healthy happy new year, and Feliz Año Nuevo, Xinian Kuaile. Mayor Stan Liu, congratulations on taking the position as mayor, and Councilmember Andrew Chow, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure working with you as mayor this past year in collaboration with the Regional Chamber of Commerce San Gabriel Valley. I'm happy to be here to speak in support of Valley Vista Services and the continuation of their services here in the city of Diamond Bar. I've been a resident of Diamond Bar since 1989. I believe that the city is throwing us a 35th anniversary party for us this year on April 6th, right? Just kidding, of course. I'm looking forward to seeing you all there at the 35th birthday bash on April 6th. On a serious note, I'm here to speak in support of approving the proposal put forth by Valley Vista Services to provide the waste hauling services. Valley Vista Services has always been an engaged and supportive member of our community. Since my initial participation in the Diamond Bar Chamber of Commerce in 2002, Valley Vista Services has always been there in support. They give back to the community, as has been mentioned by others here, in a big way. Many community organizations benefit from their philanthropic efforts. Their participation on all things community has been constant. They don't come around just when there's a proposed new contract or the renewal of a contract. They're great supporters of the chamber that serves the city of Diamond Bar. Again, they've been involved with so many community events, too many to mention in my brief time here. One of the many initiatives that we have embraced and promoted in the chamber and also in the city has been the theme of Shop Local. I understand that the analysis of the proposal utilized, as was shown, the grading and point system. And in many municipalities, bonus points are awarded to a local service provider, sometimes as much as 10%. The headquarters of Office of Valley Vista Services is just down the 60 freeway a few miles. That's pretty local when you compare it to the headquarters of Waste Management, which are located in Houston, Texas. I know that Waste Management is a fine company. My comments are not meant to denigrate them at all. Although it appears to be the lowest in the rates, option 4 is actually the least fair because it puts the cost of savings for the residential services on the backs of the business community. Again, a decrease of the rates of 22.9% in residential rates and an increase of 15.7% to the commercial sector. Again, that's another hit to the commercial sector that's already under heavy burdens. If your decision is the selection which provides for the contracting with both companies to provide services under option 2, which is a reduction in rates to both the residential and the commercial sectors, I would definitely support that. Again, thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. And we have a speaker card, Mr. Aziz Amari.
That's the height difference you can tell. My name is Aziz Amiri, CEO of the Regional Chamber of Commerce, San Gabriel Valley. Honorable Mayor, City Council members, and the city staff, good evening. When reflecting on the narratives of immigrants, our focus often leans toward recent arrivals. Let me recount the tale of a person named Vincent Perez, an immigrant who landed in early 1900s and later married a beautiful woman, Julia, also an immigrant. Together, they establish and manage a market on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. In 1940, Vincent, a dedicated servant leader, served as a block captain. Thank you. As a block captain for the neighborhood watch. Eventually, he sold his store, displaying a generous spirit by forgiving the debts of his customers. In 1957, recognizing an opportunity, Vincent initiated a waste disposal service. By 1970, the company secured a waste hauling contract with the City of Industry, and later with La Puente, and in 2000 acquired contracts with cities of Diamond Bar, Walnut, and El Monte. The vision held by Vincente and Julia Perez, aspiring for all immigrants to pursue their dreams, is embedded in Valley Vista Services. Since 2010, this company has actively collaborated with nonprofit organizations, enhancing the quality of life of people in the region. Presently, Vincente's vision perseveres as the Perez family remains dedicated to supporting diverse initiatives within our community. This commitment extends to actively participating in initiatives facilitated by the Regional Chamber of Commerce, fostering commercial activities in our region. Valley Vista Services serves as an exemplary model of corporate social responsibility for other companies to follow. I have to share a personal story with you. I'm a Meals on Wheels volunteer, and I deliver about 10 meals every Friday. One morning, as I was delivering services to a lady in La Puente, I noticed that her trash was overfilled, and there were many bags below that. I asked the resident if she was having difficulty with services. She says, "No, I can no longer push the trash can to the curbside." Then I asked her, "Are there any more trash in her house and in her backyard?" She said, "Yes, there are plenty." I immediately called Valley Vista Services, and I got connected to Angela Valenzuela. She immediately got on the phone with City of La Puente and not only got the services approved for curbside, house side, but also got her a senior discount. So I'm going to share the story with you. Thank you, Valley Vista, on behalf of Meals and Wheels for doing that service. And to the best of my knowledge, the waste management company has served this community well. But I propose and urge that you approve option 2, because it does save our commercial members some service fees. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. And next we have a speaker card from Ms. Jody Roberto.
Good evening, Mayor, and congratulations, Stan, and good evening, council members. I am here tonight to urge you to choose option 2. You know, a big supporter of both. Have close friends with Valley Vista. I've been more involved with Valley Vista, I will say that. But both of these waste haulers have been part of our community. They're not just providing a service to our residents. They provide community to all of us. And as a longtime resident here, I've been here 38 years, a longtime community volunteer, Diamond Bar Community Foundation for over 20 years. Both of them have been involved, supporting, donating, volunteering. I will say I typically go to Valley Vista because they're close, and they have never said no. You know, can you help with this? Can you do this? Can you sponsor this? Can you take an ad in the windmill? Okay. So they are just, you know, they're here, and we're used to them being here. They're our friends. They're friends of the community. They're friends of all these organizations that spoke tonight. The chamber. I was with Stuart. You know, we're all connected, and that's Valley Vista is part of that connection. Waste management is part of that connection. I was with Stuart when he was looking for a location for his trailers, and you know, he went to different places. It wasn't easy for the big trucks he has. And first he went to Pomona, and then eventually Valley Vista found him a spot in City of Industry. So I do urge you, don't do away with any of our friends. They are our friends, and you know, being here since 2000, it's a long time. They've been in our community a long time, and we count on them. And all of us organizations, we really do count on their support and their sponsorship. So thanks very much. Good seeing you all.
Thank you, Ms. Roberto. And next we have Ms. Lily Carrillo.
Good evening. Lily Quiroga with Waste Management. Just really quickly, wanted to introduce also the team that was very instrumental in helping us put this proposal together. With me, I have Steve Cano, who is our general manager. You guys probably already know Josh Goldman, who is our boots in the ground in the community. I also have other folks here with us that are here to hopefully listen to what we have going on here. I want to say that, first of all, actually, let me start with thanking the staff, you know, and Mr. Vasquez. They worked really hard to get us to this point. It was a fair process, and it was hard to get here. So there's been a lot of work that we've all put together to get here tonight. I hope that as you review the proposal, we listened. We listened to what you wanted. And the proposal, specifically the citywide proposal, is a proposal that obviously provides a lot of savings to the residents. In fact, it's substantial savings. I have to say that 85% of the residents are going to be seeing at least a $10 reduction in their rates at the start of this contract. In addition to the fair rate structure that we put forward with the citywide, we also offer the city a very comprehensive SB 1383 program. This really will help the city be in compliance with CalRecycle. We're offering a strong outreach team that's going to be in the community, providing that outreach efforts that are needed with all the regulations and all the mandates that come with this new law. In addition to our infrastructure, we're offering facilities that really gives the city a guarantee compliance to the life of the contract. We are Waste Management. We're a local operation. We're just 20 minutes away, which really gives us the opportunity to really respond to any customer issues pretty quickly, as well as any requests from the cities. I also want to touch on our commitment in the community. I see many organizations here tonight that we've also provided support for. You know, Terry Muse laid a strong foundation for us and now is Josh Goldman, which speaks to the company. Regardless of who's going to be servicing Diamond Bar, the expectation of Waste Management is that we're just not a trash hauler. We want to be a community partner to you, and I hope that that has proven in the long history that we've been in the city. But more importantly, with this community-wide proposal, it's also a $40,000 community education fund. We are offering $40,000. This is in addition to what we already have established in this community in terms of community giving and in-kind services. We're also offering a $40,000 for either scholarship programs or anything that the city would like. So I do hope that you take this citywide proposal very seriously. We worked really hard, and we really feel that we responded to all the needs of the city, and we get it. We ourselves have a great relationship with Mr. Perez. He has a great company, but at the end of the day, this was a process that we all had a fair chance, and we really feel that we put a very strong foot forward and a fair process, of fair rates. And as far as the commercial customers, our rate structure is set in a way where we really want to push recycling. We know that when we go out there and start working with all the commercial customers, we are going to be offering them a savings, because if they add recycling, our recycling rates are lower than the trash rates. So they will be seeing savings as we start getting them in compliance with both recycling and organics. So again, we hope that you do take this proposal seriously. We worked really hard, and we really think that we hit all the things that the city wanted for the future of Diamond Bar. So thank you so much.
Thank you. You mentioned Mr. Josh Goldman. Would you like to speak as well? I have a speaker card here.
Yes. Thank you. I just wanted to touch on what my colleague Lily had said. As you know, my name is Josh Goldman. I'm the public sector manager for the area. I've had the opportunity to meet most of you around town at various community events, and I wanted to just take a few moments to touch on the involvement that we have in the community. As many of you know as well, Terry was everywhere. She was involved with multiple organizations, and I've strived to continue on her legacy by doing such. And whether that's through Habitat for Humanity, Diamond Bar Friends of the Library, Inland Valley Hope Partners Annual Walk for Hungry and Homeless, the Diamond Bar Walnut Sheriff Boosters, the Diamond Bar Foundation, and the Miss Diamond Bar Scholarship Program. We're proud to be partners with these organizations. We never reject a call. Any opportunity they need to help, whether it's trash services for an event, donations, volunteers, it's something that we're proud to do, and we're proud to be part of the social fabric here in the Diamond Bar community. And I can promise you that it's something that we'll strive to continue. And thank you very much for your consideration and the opportunity to speak this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Groman. And we have one more card from Mr. Jim Kleinpel.
Thank you, Mayor Lou and council members. I'm also here in support of Valley Vista Services. I'm Jim Kleinpel, president of Meals on Wheels. Aziz, as you've heard from before, is one of our drivers, a very dedicated individual. And I might add that we also service a lovely community that is apparently by agenda item 7.1 very well funded, City of Diamond Bar. We take care of your people too. Valley Vista Services, as you know, is locally owned, therefore can be very responsive to the needs of the community. I know the Perezes. They are people of the community. I have never heard them say no to any request. They're responsive. Their services are, without question, they are the finest waste hauler in Southern California, in my humble opinion. The staff is always very willing to do whatever is necessary, as you've heard from many of the other people that have come up to speak on their behalf. They support parades. They for decades have supported concerts in the park, Puente Hills Concerts in the Park, of which I was on the board of directors. The drivers are always friendly, shake your hand, wave to you. And some of these things, I know you've been promised rate cuts and additional funding, but sometimes you have to look beyond that. What will they do for the community? And I cannot say enough for Valley Vista Services that if you need something, they're there. You call them up, they're responsive, whether it be trash cans, whether it be boxes for local events to pick up the trash, whether it be bulk items for the disposal, which is done with alacrity. They provide supplies to any and all community, civic, local organizations that they service. So I also am here to say I am in support strongly of option 2. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kleinpel. That's all the speaker cards that was submitted. If anyone else in the audience would like to speak, please speak. Mr. Perez.
Greetings, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, staff, folks at home. It was 25 years ago, more or less, that we stood here, and I believe it was almost the inaugural meeting of the Diamond Bar Council in this chamber, and kind of hashed this thing out then, and we were granted the commercial scope of work, and Waste Management was granted the residential, and it's been a blessing for us. And in those 25 years, we've worked very hard and with intention to build up resources here locally, resources for waste processing, fleet maintenance, collection, disposal, but also in our people power. We've made huge investments in our staff, in our management team, in our drivers, in safety, and all of these things done with intention to provide solid, dependable service at solid, dependable rates. We put together this proposal with a lot of work and thought, much as Waste Management did for theirs. I'll admit I missed the mark a little bit with regards to the residential rate, apparently, but we wanted a more balanced approach where we weren't going to burden the commercial sector with basically underwriting the residential collection. However, as has been pointed out many times tonight, option 2 allows for a reduction in both sectors, and we feel that is probably the best option for the city, of course for us, because we want to continue to do business here. We love doing business here in Diamond Bar, and if you see fit to give us another portion of business going forward, we will do our best to make it as seamless as possible. Since 2000, when we were given the commercial business here, we have since kind of stepped out in the residential field considerably, and we now service 65,000 single-family residential homes right here in the eastern San Gabriel Valley. We're very adept at transitions and transitioning from one hauler to a next. We've done it in Walnut, El Monte, Hacienda Heights, Valinda, Cypress, most recently in Huntington Park. Coming up, we will be doing it in East LA, Belvedere District for 23,000 homes. I just say that so you know that we do have the experience and we have the know-how to make that happen and do it in a way that will not interrupt services or be a burden to your residents and your constituents. However you choose to proceed tonight, of course, we'd like to be part of that. However, if you go a different direction, I will consider it a blessing to have worked here in Diamond Bar for 25 years plus. For all the people I've met here, all the professional and personal relationships I've built and my people have built, my employees and our employee family have built here, we really do appreciate it, and we look forward to more work to come. So thank you. I'm here to answer any questions you may have. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. City Clerk Santana, is anyone out on the teleconference?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and no emails were submitted for this item, but if any members of the public are joining this meeting on teleconference, please click on the raised hand icon to provide a comment on item 7.2. And there are no hands raised, Mayor.
Okay, no hands. Once again, anyone else in the audience would like to speak? And seeing none, we will close public comment. And now we'll go to our colleagues for comments and discussion. Okay,
May I?
Councilmember Chow.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to thank both Bella Vista and Waste Management for being here. I didn't know trash was such a hot topic. Look at all the community members that came out and spoke on this very topic. I wish I'd see you at every council meeting. That would be my dream come true. So please do come back. Maybe we'll talk about something else next time. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. But no, all joking aside, this is a serious topic. It was interesting to see that based on the work that our consultants have performed in terms of ranking, I thought that was very telling, that unfortunately, our status quo was ranked last. I think that speaks volume. I think the fact that we're taking the time now to review the contracts, it's really why we're elected in the first place, is to really look out for the best interest of our residents. And based on the consultant's analysis, it does appear that option 4 does result in the biggest overall saving for everyone. However, I'm not prepared to have our commercial customers essentially offset or subsidize the reduction in the residential rate. Conversely, with option 2, although we do see a deduction in both residential and commercial, but makes me wonder if option 4 can give us 23% reduction in residential, why does option 2 give us a 9.8% deduction only in residential and a 7.2 deduction in commercial? I guess my point is, we have one shot to do this right. The last time we looked at this was 20 years ago, right? Both contracts were signed 20 years ago, renewed in 2010 and 2015. So it's been a while. And given that this is a 10-year contract with a 2-year extension, we really have one shot to do this right for the next 10 years. And I believe that we owe it to our residents to get more information. Based on the data that we've seen, based on the bids, I'm just not quite prepared to make a call at this point. I believe that we owe it to our residents to get to reopen the process and see if we can get a better deal for our residents. Again, I believe that we have one shot to get this right for the next 10 years. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Chow. And Councilmember Tai.
Thank you, Mayor. It's interesting when we talk about the history. It's not just a hot commodity. You know what they say: trash is a dirty business. So it's not just that we went to 2 haulers, right? You have the institutional knowledge to remember this, Ryan. David, probably the same. Didn't we have, I don't remember the number, 6 or 8 or 10 trash haulers when we went to the going to Waste Management in Valley Vista?
Yes, if I remember correctly, prior to 2000, there was a licensing type procedure where various haulers could come in and.
So
provide
I could, on my cul-de-sac of 16 homes, I could pick one of those 10. And the other
My
15
institutional
could-
knowledge doesn't go quite that far back or that deep, but I think in essence, yes.
Okay, thank you. So we've come to this point, and you know, when you realize that, certainly when we moved here, and I think it was the Chamber of Commerce used to have available license plate frame that said Diamond Bar Country Living, and that's not the case anymore. This is you know, truly a bedroom community, but it's not country living anymore. It's a community, I believe, that's made up of not as many as I'd like to see, but mom and pop. When I look at the different companies that we as residents love, who would have thought, however many years ago, that Bagaloo would be as successful as they are? And they've opened another location. Encore Teppan, a tremendous restaurant in Diamond Bar, as is Basil and Diliwala. Those are local folks. Those are people that are getting up every day and doing everything they can to make a living. And we do have some. I can think of one offhand of a national restaurant, Chili's, you know, a great margarita and a great selection of beer. But if you want local, there are some options in the city. I think that when you realize that option 2 is the only option that reduces the total amount, both sectors are reduced with option number 2. Personally, I don't want to be that guy that has to let the folks know in the multifamily homes that their rates are going to go up dramatically because it's commercial. That doesn't make it, really, truly, you are, in some parts of town, you are looking at multifamily residents that are on the cusp, right? Think of everything that goes up. Right off the bat is minimum wage, and that's great for the homeowner. What does it do to the business? And who wants to tell them, we're sorry, your rates are going to go up, but mine on my cul-de-sac isn't going to go up, and I'm very happy about that. I'm not that guy that wants to deliver that message. I think, you're right, Councilman Chow, we are elected to make decisions, and this is an important decision. I don't personally feel it needs to go out to every trash hauler. I wish I had thought of it earlier. I would have loved to have made a note of those trash haulers that have sued the cities that they work with. And I don't want to get into the details. Somebody I'm sure could tell me, well, we had to because the city did this. We've never been sued by our trash haulers. Now, maybe when we go back, however many years it was, Ryan, that we had 6 or 8 or 10 haulers, maybe we did, but not with the ones that we've enjoyed for the last 20 or 23 years. I think it's appropriate to realize that the best that is available for the entire community, for residential and for commercial, is option number 2. I think that, my question would be, it's awkward to have this conversation with everybody here and anybody that wants to listen to it, but it is awkward because Waste Management has been a decent provider. But here's my question. This is always, well, I told my wife, as honey, as I get older, I'm getting more cranky. And she goes, no, sweetie, that's not true. You've always been cranky. So it's one of those things that you look at, there's little to very little customer service anymore. And I think that's important, especially with trash haulers. And I have this experience that who do you call when it's the residential pickup? Do you call Baldwin Park? Don't bother. Do you call Corona? If you want to push 1 and you want to push 2 and you can go through all that. Is it Houston where they're based? Because many times the answer that you get is, and I love to do this with whatever it might be that I'm calling about, is where are you located? Well, we all know a lot of them are in different countries, but there's not that local feel. I guess that's what I want to reinforce is what we have is, I know where Waste Management is. I know how to get there. I know that how close they are to us. And, we can all joke and say, hey, you better take care of that. I know where you live. You better take care of it. I know where you work. So I think it's fair to say option 2 provides everything that the community is looking for. And I'm not real concerned about the differences in dollars because I don't know that option 4 is so much better that I would take it over option 2. It doesn't make much sense to me. And I do worry about when things go sideways, will Waste Management, and again, I love when we have the opportunity, I love to see Lily. We've seen Josh. We got to meet Steve. those are the personal relationships. However, Waste Management is not a local company. Waste Management does business in the local area, but they're not, when we were talking about this presentation, we were talking about, I think I heard one of the staff say, you're right, they're a large national company. They're not national, they're international. They're traded on the, not the NASDAQ, but on thank you. So they answer to shareholders. Valley Vista answers to the people that work for them, the people that they have employed for goodness knows how many years, and they're providing obviously a living for their family. So I have absolutely no problem recommending option number 2. I do think it's the only option that reduces the rates for the entire community, whether it's residential or commercial. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Tai and Councilmember Lowe.
Thank you, Mayor. I just really appreciate the comments of the speakers, and I appreciate Mr. Perez coming and also addressing the council. And I want to thank staff and our consultants for all the work, and to Valley Vista and Waste Management. Just looking at the RFP and the 2 amendments and the stuff that you guys had to do, thank you for putting so much work and effort into that. And I know that once your companies finished your work, our consultants went to work and our city staff went to work. So this process of selecting a waste hauler was not simple, it was not easy, and it was costly, I'm sure, for all of you as well as for the city. I do remember when we were, I believe we were still at the Windmill Room when we decided that we would have a process that would give an exclusive bidding to both Waste Management and Valley Vista. Is that correct? And at that time, I believe that it was understood that if nothing came back that was acceptable, then of course everyone would be open to opening it up. But because of the special relationship and the longevity of the relationship and the performance that these 2 waste haulers have exhibited in our community, that we would offer them basically the right of first refusal. So, and I'm glad we did that, because I think that the proposals that were put forth by both of these waste haulers are very, very fine proposals, and they took a lot of thought. I also do not think that we need to go out and get more and do shopping some more. We don't need to do more shopping, because this is not an inexpensive process. I think that we all agreed at the time that we determined that we would open to this to exclusive bidding, that they were in fact very well, both of these companies were very well suited to our needs and worked very well with our community as well as our staff. So, so having said that, I think that the proposal that has been put forth is I'm ready to make a decision on this. I really appreciate the community service that both of these companies have given to our community, as mentioned by the speakers here, and Valley Vista, Waste Management, you guys were right in there in terms of community service as well. And I think it was Mr. Cortez that says that we should give points for community service. I think if we did that, they'd probably be equal. So that would be another category. But I do appreciate the involvement in the community that they've given over the years. I thought that the process was very fair. I thought that the way that our consultants gave the rankings and the percentages and was very fair. And in terms of 1,000 points, really the difference between option 4 and option 2 is basically 5 points, and 5 points out of 1,000 is really very nominal. I think that really they should rank equally. I look at option 2 versus option 4 in that, of course, the commercial charges, which other people have also raised. Option 2, in terms of the commercial, I think it's worth pointing out that in the commercial, it contains 2,620 single-family units within that amount. So we have a multifamily in the residential sectors, and we also have residentials, which basically the only difference to me is that they have the big bins versus their own cart, right? And that's the only difference. So these 2,600 families don't get to benefit by the rate reduction through no fault of their own. It's just because that's how they're set up. So that to me didn't seem very fair. And option 2, everyone gets to share in the rate reduction, and it's not as great, admittedly, overall, but everybody does get to share. And I want to point out, with respect to the idea of going out for further, can we get the best deal? Can we get the best deal? I believe that our consultant has included in his analysis the reasonableness of the proposal. And that's akin to our engineer's projection of what a project should cost. Whenever we go out to build ADA ramps or bus stop or anything else we build, our residential engineers, who are the experts, they tell us this project should cost X. And that's kind of a benchmark, because as our consultant pointed out, when you have a benchmark and you have a deviation that's over 20% of that benchmark, that means that someone is, there's something wrong with that. Either they're not giving you the service that you want, they're not giving you the quality you want, and worst case scenario, they're going to come back to you later on and say, hey, we find that our contract was too low. And as our consultant pointed out, they're going to ask the city, they're going to come back to the city and ask for relief or readjustment or amendment of the contract, which, if that happens, we're back to where we are. So according to our consultant, both of these, what the contracts as presented are well within the reasonableness. And to me, that is it tells me that these contracts are reasonable. We're not getting the best deal, but we're getting a fair deal. And that's what we should be at. We should be getting a fair deal from our vendors. We should be giving a fair deal to our customers. And as we operate, that's where we're going forward. As from beginning to end, we want to have a fair process. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Low. Mayor Pro Tem Tang.
I think today this is a very experience for me to listen to the community, because when we look at those numbers, it's just like a college admission office. When we receive the application from many A+ students, but it's all on the paper. Not until you have a chance to speak to the applicant and also probably speak to the reference people, talk to them, then you get some better idea. So today's many speakers speak in front of the city council and give the support to one or the other group. I think that will give me some better idea. But besides the points on the paper, what are the merits they have? Also that the speaker from the Chamber of Commerce will also come to speak on behalf of the business. I think that's, we usually don't have a representative from business community to come to speak for themselves. And I'm glad that the Chamber of Commerce speaker come to speak for them, to speak for their, on their behalf. So that, very glad to have those two opinions presented here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Temp. Thank you, staff, and thank you all the and all the speakers that spoke on behalf of our two businesses. As we have seen, this is not an easy decision. It's a decision I feel that we're making that will affect the next 10 years, both in terms of service and also on the finances, on the rate pays that our residents, both our resident and our business, will be paying. As we've seen earlier on the slides, that there is efficiency to having one hauler. But look at option 4, having one hauler, that there is savings to residential, but there's increase into a business. In our community in City of Diamond Bar, our businesses, many of the businesses are residents of Diamond Bar. And if we go one step further, is if it's in the apartments that uses bins, they're actually residents, renters or homeowners of multi-unit homes. So having the rates increase there to have the rates decrease on the single-family home does not seem quite fair, nor is it good for business, to our business, small businesses that we love so much in Diamond Bar. And as we had spoken and seen earlier, there is advantage, benefits to having a partner, a business partner, a hauler partner that is very close to us, and that has been spoken, illustrated, and it goes back to, I feel that it goes back to the decisions we're making will affect at least the next 10 years, and I feel that I would be more inclined to look at both, can we get a single hauler contract at a rate that is both reduction for everyone. I am more inclined of going out to bid on a little bit more on that. So, City Manager Fox, what do we do now?
Well, I believe it'd be appropriate for someone to make a motion if there's a preference on option 4, option 2, or it sounds like maybe going back out to bid and see if there's a majority support.
Mayor, I'd make a motion that we go with option 2.
So, point of order, City Attorney, can I make a substitute motion at this point?
Normally, you make a substitute when you have a second, because right now there's no motion on the table. The motion is on the table when there's a first and second.
So Councilmember Tai made a motion, so if there's a second, then I can make a substitute motion. Okay,
Correct.
got it. Thank you.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Tai.
Can you repeat the motion? I'm sorry.
I would make the motion that we go with option number 2. City manager is looking for.
I will second that motion.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion from,
Then at this point, I make a substitute motion?
Yes, at this point, you can make
Okay.
a substitute
Then-
motion.
Okay, then at this point, I'd like to make a substitute motion to go back out to bid and get a single hauler contract for the entire city.
I will second that motion.
Mr. City Manager, I want to make an alternate substitute motion to go to accept option 2.
At this point, because you have a substitute motion on the table, you need to act on the substitute motion before you can go back to the original or another substitute.
So Mayor, the mayor will call, so we'll take a vote on the substitute motion?
Yes.
Okay.
The original motion was for option 2, correct? And then
The
we have a
substitute motion
second,
was to go out to bid for a single hauler for the entire city.
and the substitute, and then you.
Then there's no
And then
substitute.
your alternate would have been the same as, okay. And what do we now?
So we'll take a vote on the substitute motion first.
Yes. Substitute motions will take precedence.
Okay. City Clerk Santana, can we?
Hold on just a minute. I
Okay.
want to ask the city attorney something. So, or maybe it's a city manager. Do we want to be that definitive that we're only going to go out to one hauler? Or should we amend that?
That's the choice of the city council to make.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the motion is to go out for a single hauler. In other words, go out for only one franchise.
So we do the substitute, do we do an alternate of that if someone want to do
No, you need to act on the substitute motion first.
okay. Thank,
Let me just clarify. Single hauler, a single hauler contract or to go out for one hauler?
We'll go out to the world for a proposal that proposes to do the service throughout the whole city.
Thank you.
That's my understanding, and I hope I got it right.
Correct, that is my motion, thank you.
okay. Thank you.
My question is, we already had the option for the single hauler for the whole city, already, like option 4 and.
3
so
and 4, yeah.
3 and 4, right?
yes.
So if you want to have a single hauler, that the option 3 and 4 is already on the table.
But this will allow us to go out to get bids from additional companies, in addition to what the 2 bids that we have.
Okay. So can we review for a vote? City Clerk Santana, please call for a vote.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Chow?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
I'm going to vote no on that.
Councilmember Tai?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Tang?
No.
Mayor Lu?
Yes.
The motion fails, and so now you're back to the original motion, which is to approve the option number 2. And you don't need that motion made again? No.
Okay, great.
It's already on the table.
Okay. Does City Clerk Santana please call for a vote?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Chow?
No.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Tang?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Tai?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tang?
Yes.
Mayor Lu?
No. So, motion passes, option 2. Thank you. And so now we go into our council subcommittee reports and meeting attendance reports. We will start with Council Member Chow.
Thank you, Mayor, and again, we appreciate everyone here for tonight's meeting. I had a chance to be in Sacramento with Contract City a couple weeks ago for their annual Sacramento legislative tour, and we had a chance to appear in a press conference along with the chair of the Select Committee on Retail Crime, and they talked about the additional steps that the Senate and the Assembly is working on to hopefully curb the recent rise in smash and grabs and retail crime. So there's more on that to come as the Select Committee work on a slate of bills for the new year for the governor to consider. Then that's, I believe that's the only meeting I attended this past week. So thank you. With that, I'll say good night.
Thank you, Councilmember Chow and Councilmember Lowe.
Thank you, Mayor. Wish everyone Happy New Year, and thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. I just want to thank Mayor Liu for affording me the opportunity to attend the city selection meeting and the opportunity to be nominated for the Library Commission. And so with that, I'm pleased to report that I'll be serving out the remainder of the vacant term on the Library Commission, and ask for your support and to continue the good work that our library has put forth. With that, I'll say good night.
Thank you, Councilmember Lowe. And Councilmember Tai.
Thank you, Mayor. I let something slip away. It got approved in the consent calendar before I had a chance to pull item 5.4. So I just want to make sure that anybody listening at home is aware that because of staff's efforts, we received from Caltrans $302,850 grant funds for safety improvements around town. We've clearly identified them, and this is one of those things that, you know, when you look around town, you go, boy, they sure do a lot of work around here. Boy, they're taking that curb out again there. That's coming from grant funds, not from the general fund. So thank you very, very much, staff, for everything that you do to make us as efficient as we possibly can be. Thank you. Good night, and God bless you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tai, and Mayor Pro Tem Tang.
Yeah, I just want to mention that recently I heard from several of our residents told me that there's an increase of the mailbox theft recently, and they specifically mentioned this is related to the tax season is coming. So I don't know why there's a correlation. Probably there's a more check in the mailbox. So at this time, I hope that all our residents change their mailbox into a locked box, so that also that they regularly clean up their mailbox, so that they don't give any opportunity for the theft. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Temp. I'd like to thank staff for the presentation today and the work that gone into making our next steps and the ways to holler. Thank you. I would like to thank our residents for checking up on each other. This holiday season has been exceptionally cold. Thank you for checking up on each other, and also thank you for checking up on each other's homes as families and neighbors has gone to a vacation. So neighbors watching out for neighbors. That's been amazing. Thank you so much. And congratulations once again to Councilmember Lowe for being appointed to the Library Commission. You'll do an amazing job, and thank you for stepping up and representing and doing the great work for our libraries. With that, I will say good night, and at 8:56, we'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you so much, and good night.